Welcome to Fiber Tech. For those who are long-time viewers may notice a few differences in this video. One, I'm standing in a shed because, well, I'm not at university anymore. And also, I'm going to use a shed because I'm now living at my mother's place. So I've moved back in with my parents. So, a few things will change. The frequency of video will probably definitely change. If anything, I'll probably put out more videos. Because there's a lot of projects to do in this shed to make it functional. Yes, there's a lot of tools in this shed, before anyone else. But primarily, I have to get things up and running, get things working, so therefore I can make videos. Quick few things about today's video. Sort of all this is experimental at this stage. The bench that I'll mainly do video work with is going at the front here, so I'll try to remember as much as possible to move the camera, or the camera which is now on my iPad, over to the bench so people can see what I'm doing whilst I'm on the bench, but I'll also try to use the bench up the back, and I'll try to remember to show as much as possible as I'm doing things. So today's a little experimental to try out the video and everything else. I am primarily going to be taking one of these kits that everyone probably sees on eBay quite often, one of these multi-in-one kits. I've had this one for almost a year or two now. Haven't really done too much with it, primarily because anything I make with it tends not to turn out well. But the project that I'm going to turn this into, probably with quite a bit of modification and maybe some swearing of today, like any project, is the ability to turn this into what they refer to as a vertical drilling machine, or vertical drilling, what we normally call a drill press, which is that Gerber right here. That's pretty much what I'll be doing today with all the bits I have. I just hope I have all the bits lying around because there's, motor assemblies and everything else lying around this place. So the plan is that it will actually be mounted to the bench that is up the back here. Most likely in this corner here. But I'll just have to see how it works today and how everything does things today. I'm blown out again. So we'll just work with what I've got today and everything else. Without further ado, I'm going to show you what's in the box, or what's left in the box after a year of me not using it very well, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we're just going to go through what parts we have and what parts we need for the project in question, and see if I actually still got it all here, because that is something that's going to be a challenge. Here. There's going to be a few things here that I'm not 100% sure if they still are in the box. Primarily because I haven't used this in a year, and put it this way, I don't even know if I can still put it together. So again, that's what we're making. Don't know if that's exactly in focus or in shot. And these are the parts I have. The first modification I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking out a lot of this vice work. Primarily what's going to happen is pretty much all this is going to disappear. So essentially it's just going to be this vertical shaft arrangement, this sort of vertical stand arrangement with the offsets and everything that are here. So the interesting thing about this drill press is the way in which it actually does the feeding action, which may be better shown off. This is not the complete unit, I'll have to get them from inside because I realise I have parts inside still, inside the house. So basically when you pull down the lever, this block here is kept fixed on the actual upright stand, okay? So when you pull down the lever, you're just moving the carriage down and up, which is basically moving the entire motor assembly up and down, which is a bit of a different beast entirely. It's a very odd way of doing things. I'm not sure how well it will work, but I won't know until I start, putting in bits and pieces together. First things first, of course, I have to put this motor assembly back together after me modifying the drive pinion and drive wheels and all this other stuff. One of the first things I have to do is take off this aluminium one that I was working with and put the original plastic one back on, so I can have the right drive ratio, so therefore the motor and this bearing assembly actually meet back up and do what they're meant to do. So, without further ado, I'm going to stop the camera again We're going to go inside, get the extra parts, and then we'll come back and I'll have all the parts laid out so we can start putting things together. Right, and we're back. After maybe about 20 minutes of my time and a few seconds of yours. I've got the instruction manual up here so I can kind of follow along as much as I can. I think I've got most of the major components I require here. But we're just going to, see as we go. So, the first thing to do is disassemble the old lathe bed. And sorry about the ridiculously loud crows we have around here. Yeah, this used to be the lathe bed. Which, when you see how thin the tubular box section is, it's only a couple of millimeters thick. It really does, torque and twist and kind of not work very well. So yes, that is definitely an issue with these. They are made very much at a budget price. Unfortunately, which is, expected considering I only paid about $110, $120 for everything in the box. So yeah, that's just, it comes with the territory, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. So you go that way, and you go that way. I see, yep. I see. I see, said the blind man to the deaf man. So that locks in there like that, and then this whole arrangement slides over there like that to generate this sort of, I guess, almost bayonet style fitting. It does not feel very secure. Sorry about my giant head in the way, it's all good. So that's the first step, is just making up essentially the support mechanism. The next thing that I'm going to change is, instead of the motor head coming out this way and protruding over this crossbar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate that around the other way. Therefore I can clamp this down to the bench very securely and then have this as the active surface, therefore allowing me to basically drill all the way down to a flat surface, or a relatively flat surface. At this stage it's looking like I'm going to use some of the big steel plate that I have lying around from wherever the heck that have materialized from. And that will probably become my actual working bed. You may notice that I've actually taken the end cap off of one side. That's just to make that more level and give a larger surface area of contact. I may also do the same thing for these two as well, and find out a way of actually mounting these down to the giant steel plate as well. Or, of course, idealistically, or alternatively I should say, using the T-slot that's included and drilling and tapping into the big steel plate and actually physically affixing this to the big steel plate. If I can find, proper screws to do it with. The screws that are included aren't exactly the best for doing that sort of thing. So, anyway, on to the next step, which is reconfiguring the motor head. First thing first is to take off the lathe end. Ooh, wow, I did do that uptight. Oh, I did that uptight, didn't I? Crap. One moment. I know I usually talk more in these videos, but I'm kind of trying to think. crazy, stupid tight, didn't I? Gosh, wow. I overkilled that, didn't I? Let's get this blade loosened up first. Just lay down, loosen up. Take out that heated nail. Wowzers. I did really do that up tight, didn't I? There it goes. Wow. Okay, I did that up a bit tight. Maybe that was something to do with me trying to eliminate the run out that's in this thing. Yeah. Sorry, I'm out of frame. Ew, it's not working. Oh, I see why it's not working. Yeah, this pulley isn't coming off because... Where are we? That hole sits up a little on the high side. You can just see that in here. If I put that over actually something that's in focus, in frame, you may actually be able to see how much that's actually wallowed out and also sitting up on each side, which is a problem. So that's a little bit of a problem, of course. So all I'm going to have to do is hopefully take out those high spots. Take out those high spots and hopefully I'll be able to get it off. Again, hopefully. And sorry that I'm off frame a bit, I just need to have stuff a little bit better grouped up, that's all. There it goes. Now it's coming off. So this is being a bit of a pain to get off. I need to get this off because no matter how I rig this up, it's going to cause issues with trying to actually get the other motor on. So I can't actually get a motor and belt assembly working without taking off this module here, which is a bit of a pain. So. I'll take those spaces out. I'll just keep working on this guy. Rubber mallet time. Well, if I had a rubber mallet, or knew where mine actually went. Time to get innovative. Alright, and we're back after about 10 minutes of trying to get that pulley off. See, That's the way they're meant to do. Gah. Oh well. I deal with the tools in which I have. Don't exactly have a lot of money to go out and buy things, so. So there's just all sorts of things you gotta work around. So the other modification that's been done to this already is this switch or motor assembly. The other side of this switch used to come out to a barrel jack, which was then plugged into a plug pack that came with it. That plug pack is being used for other things. It's actually a decent enough plug pack, and this has been converted to run to spade lug, which will then run off an industrial power supply, which I have sitting at the back of the room. That just it simplifies things. It makes things a little bit better. I was originally using a 12-volt battery until that kind of may have exploded with hydrogen fire. So yeah. So anyway, let's continue with our assembly. Hopefully I'm keeping myself in frame as much as possible. Sorry, I was out of frame there for a bit, I believe. Yeah, that's got to slide in there as well. Interesting. And of course, there goes that locking wedge. As you can tell, this is a very finicky operation. Well, actually, finicky is an understatement. Finicky is understatement. Why won't you go through there? Odd. Alright, that's now in. Now. Hey, there we go. Now I have to line up the belt arrangement and then lock it down. Oops, wrong Allen key. This Allen key. Nope. This one. Yes, I'm just eyeballing the alignment right now. There goes the tool down the gap. Yeah, I'm just eyeballing the alignment at this stage in time until such a time as I can get it actually running. Until such a time I can actually get it running and working. Nope, that's too tight. The tensioning device in this red box that actually holds the motor is about the most crudest thing I've ever seen. One of these days I'll get around to, building my own drill press and stuff like that. So, now, how does that go? Oh, that goes onto there and that goes onto there. So, we need another one of these little expansion goobers. And then that will sit in there like that, and then that should sit in there. And for the time being, I'll take a tool. That will sit there like that. Yep. Except the other way around. Yes, and then that joins onto that. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, lady, please. So, next thing to do is grab extra bits of hardware, the hardware bag, and essentially what I'm going to be doing is attaching this block to the base of this carriage. There's no threaded rod in this carriage because that's the way they instruct you to pull it apart, to give it a free floating but yet guided path. There's 3 actual screw holes here. Now the manual, let's just say incorrectly I put it, says you can just use one. However, if you do that, it's gonna, if you only hold this thing down by one bolt, it's gonna do this, right? So when you start putting tension on it, or sort of compression on it, it's going to twist out of one way. There is the ability to put all three of them in there, which is what I'm going to do to make sure it has a nice solid affixment to what I need. So that's what I'm going to be doing, is I'll be using all 3 just to make sure that it's, it works. It's not, again, not necessary. I'd say you want to put at least 2 of them in, but 1 is, that's just laughably stupid. But a lot of these instructions are sort of, the good, the bad, and the ugly with these instructions. So, again, it is built down to a price. So you don't expect, A, coloured manual, or B, instructions written by someone who has English as their first language. I can understand that. That's not an issue. I understand. It's just, it wouldn't take much to, ask someone who speaks English as a first language, or even, decently as a second language, to go, can you just double check this for me? I'm sure that, no one's going to look down on you because you're asking to make sure that the manual is readable by, everyone. English being as common as it is. Although not as common as other languages, I understand. But when you think about something close to 80% of the world speaks an English or an English-derived language, that's a lot of people, and if your manual isn't good enough for their language, well, you've just sort of kicked your market. So it does make sense for them to make a good quality manual for something, but I can understand that costing and time constraints on a product development can hamper things. So, it's not, I can, I'm making fun of their manual, I'm making fun of their product, but if it wasn't a decent product, I wouldn't have bought it. If it wasn't a useful or usable product, then I probably wouldn't have gone out and bought it. So there is something to say with that. I can't remember if I needed a different size screw for this third one. Nope, it grips. Cool. That's those 3 in place. I'm just going to tension them down. Not too tight again because it's plastic against plastic. But you can see now that's that module. And then this goes over top. This sort of slides back and forth. And then once you grab the handle, which it comes with, and you place the handle in the right spot, you can see that it actually works like a drill press. You've got your top of travel, and then when you pull the lever down, it pulls it down and makes it run. Very simple, but it definitely does work. I got no qualms about that sides of things. That in and of itself is not fatally bad. It does the job. What more can you expect? And then we're just attaching that with that. Yep. So now we've got to attach our moving section to our motor body. Of course, up the correct way would be very proper. Yeah. Just double checking my alignment, because that would be bad. I think the most fiddly component of this entire system is these little expansion carriages. They are very, very fiddly. extremely fiddly, is how I would describe it. That slides in there like that, and then we make sure that's up the correct way. Make sure these are up the correct way. These only go in one way, by the way. I have no idea if this is actually going to show up on camera, but you can see that there's a little notch right in here on this side. That actually prevents it from going in. So this side can free travel the full length of something, but the other side can't. This little notch prevents it. So one side will always hit against the surface, and the other side will always slide free. So you got to sort of pick which way, what you want to put where. With this sort of system. So yeah, just a thought though. And then does it actually connect in is the next question. Oh no, there it goes. Sorry, I'm out of frame. I know, I'm completely out of frame. You can't see what I'm doing, I know. This is, again, the fiddliness of it makes it difficult to show as I'm doing it. Without getting my big noggin in the way. I'm sorry. Come on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. There we go. So, that is now that in. Now we tighten that down as little as that's actually going to do. There we go. Let's tighten down. And that will slide onto. Hopefully, slide onto. There we go. Pretty stiff. It's going to need some lubricant, definitely. There it goes. So that's the sliding rail, essentially speaking. So when the handle goes in, you can start to see how this system works. Once that's attached to there, you can pull up and down on this lever, and it gives you the ability to actually have that throw that you require to actually do drilling operations. Yes, I must admit it doesn't have much throw, but it doesn't stop you, undoing this back bolt here and lowering the whole head down or higher or moving the head up, doing the first sort of bit as much as you can, especially if you're drilling through like thick wood or something like that, and then slowly moving down, moving this whole head arrangement down as you go. That again, that's just that's just the way I see it. It's not, it's not a deal breaker or anything like that. I don't know how many seconds I just missed there, but on the aside though, that isn't a really deal breaker, that limited travel. You just have to make sure you put your little expansion bolt in the right way. So again, got to take note of that notch and make sure that notch is towards the thing that is moving, not the thing that you want. Yeah, anyway. So in this case, the stationary notch is going to face towards the motor assembly. Because I want the bolt to always be accessible. I don't want that to disappear inside this. So that's just a piece of that, and then that. We'll probably take a hammer and stick to get into alignment. There it is. So now you can sort of see how this is going to work. I'll just tighten that up for starters, and you can now see how this whole drill press sort of arrangement works. I'll mount it to a bench because if I let go of this thing, it's going to fall over. So, for the time, I'll pause the camera again. I'll go set up the camera and set up everything for the back bench, and we'll see how this thing actually does something, how it actually drills. So, we now got this thing mounted to the bench. Maybe not the most stably, but I'll work with it. Again, I do plan to put this on a big piece of steel, which will then be screwed to this bench, in essence. But you can now see that we've actually got this whole thing working. You can see that this is the industrial power supply I was talking about. This puts out 12 volts at 44 amps, which is let's just say moderately overkill, considering what this little motor is actually capable of is like, 2 amps at most. Like that's 2 amps stall current. So the typical operational current of this thing is going to be way, way, way less than that. So that gives you an idea of how it actually looks on a bench. I'm actually going to set up a drilling operation, or we'll come back after I set up a full drilling operation of this thing. So I'll put the camera sort of off to this side a little bit, and we'll see, how it actually performs. So it'll be very interesting. So, a little demo of this guy. As you can see, I've just got it set up with I think it's a 5mm drill bit. Nothing too fancy. You will notice that the run out on this, or you may not be able to see it from back there, but you may notice that the run out on this thing is quite, let's just say extreme is putting it lightly. It's about 1/3 of a millimeter on the shaft run out. So run out, for those who don't know, is if I'm looking at this bit here, what's essentially happening is the bottom is doing a circle when the top is staying still. And what that means is you may be using a 5mm drill bit, but you end up with, a 5.5, 6, 7mm hole. So something to think about. And if you do hear a slight bit of fan noise, it is the industrial power supply having its little fan on. So we'll turn it on and actually grab some safety glasses first and then turn it on. Yeah, this shed's an absolute mess when I'm filming. So, safety glasses on, because why not, and why not? So you can probably almost see the run out on that thing. It's quite... nope, I don't have any way of zooming in. You know what? That's actually not too bad. This top one was just a pothole I did before off camera to make sure it actually worked. It looks better. And this one here is the one we just did. You can see actually it's fairly square. I'll have to check its squareness with tools, with measurement equipment that I have. But in general, that's actually not a bad hole. You can hear that as I started to drill deep into this. This is just treated pine. Nothing really heavy. I do have some hardwood around I could test it with, but I'll probably just burn out the motor. So I think of all of the tools I've made with this thing, the drill press is probably the best out of the lot. The lathe didn't work at all. It's a no-starter. It's a non-starter. The mill, because it's based on this concept, works okay, but the vise they include is so small. I think the biggest thing you could probably clamp is, a bolt a nut about that big. It's about the biggest thing you can clamp. So it's not really good enough for scaled work. Should probably be in frame. So the mill is not probably the most useful. It works. It's just not very. Doesn't directly scale up. Plus, because the way the XY table works and it's based off this whole plastic on plastic arrangement, again, the accuracy of your consistency, particularly accuracy, it can be fixed. But the consistency between each time that you use the machine is not really there. The other machines that you see in this manual, like the hand sander and the little sanding things, I got other tools that do a better job of that. So I think the drill press is definitely a winner in just sheer terms of functionality, particularly. I think, yes, I do need to work out a way of mounting this a little bit more solidly to make it a bit more consistent. Definitely tweaking the bearing arrangements so that so I can reduce as much run out as possible. Because run out right now is definitely a concern, it's definitely an issue, although trying to make that work is going to be a bit of a pain because of the way it's mounted. It's essentially just plastic end caps with basically cap head screws in them, so not the greatest. But it is, fixable, it's repairable, it's upgradable. So I think out of the 6-in-1 that they say that it's useful, it's more or less just useful as a drill press. But I must admit, the way in which this drill press works means that there is the ability to make this better. There is a way of, I guess, putting it bluntly, there's definitely a way of using a longer threaded shaft on this. It does use M6 threads. So using like a longer M6 threaded rod with like a spindle handle as opposed to this drop handle, sort of like a screw press for those who know what they are. and using that lever to pull up and down this motor module. I think that would definitely be a good way of using sort of a first planned upgrade of this. But in general, I'm happy with this project today. It will definitely allow me to do other things. I'm definitely going to grab a set of... oh no, my micrometers aren't working today. I'll have to check, because I know this is a 5mm drill bit. I'm going to check how much run out is actually there, actually present, by checking the size of the hole. And I may leave that in the bottom of the video frame. So 5mm hole, what did it actually come out as? I may measure that up and see what it comes out as. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with it. Again, not really made for quick and easy adjustments of the height, because again you have to loosen that bolt and then raise it up and then tighten it back down again. Which is why I'm saying the idea of using, an M6 threaded rod that's the full length of the upright here. That would definitely be a good way of doing it. A much better way of doing it than this. I do have other threaded rod around, but I'm unsure of its unsure of what thread it actually is. I know it's an imperial thread, but beyond that I don't have any idea. So trying to find things that fit it and then trying to make up a block that works with this is a bit outside my abilities at the point in time. So, I'll leave you with another hole through this little block of pine. And I think we'll just leave it there. So, thank you again for watching. Thank you for some of the longer term subscribers, because I know I haven't posted in almost 6 months. Actually, probably longer than that, probably close to 8 months. So you probably will see a few more videos. I've got some sawhorses to do a bit of work on, and other tools and other sort of shop building things. And probably the long term at this stage is probably something like a forge or a foundry or setup so I can melt my own steel. Without that, I will turn on this machine and we'll see how she goes.